Here's a collection of actual crimes committed by really dumb criminals. Just sit back and enjoy the insanity as we present. Stupid crime stories you just won't believe. In 2006, police in Marin County, California responded to a burglary in an office building. When officers arrived on the scene, they saw two men running from the building. The men had left a pile of Apple computer equipment outside. One of the men, identified as 39-year-old John Epp, was quickly caught and arrested. His accomplice was apprehended minutes later after crashing their getaway car. When Epp showed up in court, he was facing 10 charges which included computer theft. After his hearing, he was released on bail. You would think that someone who had just been released on bail would try to stay out of trouble as they await trial. But not Mr. Epp. The courthouse just happened to be located inside the Civic Center. And as Epp was leaving, he noticed that there were plenty of offices with computer equipment. He probably thought to himself, since those bad policemen took away the computers I stole, why not try to get some of them back? So after he left the courtroom, he hid on a balcony of the Civic Center until it was closed. Once the place was almost empty, he snuck into an office. He then loaded a bunch of computers and monitors into a recycling bin and carted them off. Keep in mind that this is also the same building where he just had a hearing for computer theft. Apparently Epp was also a pretty good con man, because even though he was stopped by maintenance workers and sheriff's deputies on the way out, he still managed to exit the building without being apprehended. While we don't have the details, we know it is common for companies to use recycling bins to cart away computers that contain sensitive data. If this is why he chose this method, it was a rather clever idea. Once outside, he placed the stolen equipment into a large box. Now he just needed a way to get the items home. But how would he do it? Well, he's a thief, right? So he figured he'd just steal a car. He spotted one parked just right down the street from the courthouse. But police showed up before he managed to get away. It's not like he would have gotten away with the theft anyway, as there were plenty of video surveillance cameras in the building. Also, his fingerprints would have identified him. Epp later admitted that he was just stealing the computers for drug money. That's a common theme in these types of crimes. A police sergeant had this to say about the incident. It just amazed me that someone could be in the middle of a jury trial for a burglary involving computers and immediately get involved in another burglary at the Civic Center courthouse. Since Epp couldn't stay out of trouble, he faced additional charges of attempted auto theft, burglary, grand theft and drug possession. He was facing a 5-year sentence. In 2011, a couple in Ogden, Utah went shoplifting inside the local Winco food store. After picking up some cotton swabs, batteries, energy bars and makeup, they attempted to exit the store without paying for the items. However, store security managed to stop them before they were able to leave. The pair were then detained in the office until police arrived. They then reviewed surveillance video and recovered the stolen property from the suspects. After a brief interrogation, 36-year-old Ildon Alexander and 47-year-old Corrine Van Houten were released after being cited in the theft of small ticket items worth about $26. A police officer issued them both a misdemeanor citation for theft and allowed them to leave the store. But the story doesn't end there. As the officer was driving away, he noticed two people flagging him down in the parking lot. To the officer's surprise, it was the same two people he had just cited for shoplifting. When he pulled over to find out what they wanted, they said they needed to report a crime. According to police, while the two were allegedly shoplifting inside the store, someone had broken into their Ford Ranger and stolen their personal items. They reported that a stereo amplifier and a drum machine had been taken. The items had an estimated value of about $160. When police reviewed the security camera footage from the parking lot, they saw what appeared to be a man in a red sweater breaking into the victim's Ford Ranger. Interestingly, the car burglary occurred while the officer's car was parked nearby. You've got to be pretty bold to break into a car and steal items with a police cruiser in the area. Apparently they left the items in plain view and it was just too tempting for someone to pass up. So during a failed attempt to steal just $26 worth of goods from a store, they wound up losing $160 in personal property that they will probably never get back. Clearly, this little trip cost them more than they bargained for. And the look on this face speaks volumes. You can call it karma, or you can say it's poetic justice. But we'll just call it a stupid crime. In 2023, a woman in Indiana visited the website of a local car dealer in Muncie. She then submitted a request for a test drive. When she arrived at the dealership, she informed the salesperson that she was interested in a 2013 Kia. She then asked for a test drive. But as he was getting the car ready for her, his office phone continued to ring. So he reportedly told her to wait a moment while he answered the phone. When he went back to the office to take the call, to his surprise, there was no one on the other end of the line. But that was nothing compared to the surprise he was about to have. After he hung up the phone, he returned to the area where the customer was waiting, but she was gone. But that's not all. The car he was showing her was also gone. The dealer immediately called police to report the car stolen. While police weren't able to immediately catch up to the stolen Kia, they used traffic cameras to track it. They watched as it traveled to Indianapolis, which is over an hour away, and then back to Muncie. The car was then abandoned in a mall parking lot next to the dealership it was stolen from. However, according to an employee at the dealership, the stolen Kia ended up being recovered 20 miles away in Anderson. Officers later connected 20-year-old Kasia Shelton to the crime. When they went to her home, police said she initially lied to them about her identity. But she eventually admitted to stealing the car after police informed her that they knew who she was and what she had done. That's because Shelton had entered her real information on the dealership's website prior to stealing the Kia. Not a smart thing to do if you're going to steal the car. Police said Shelton reportedly told them she was applying for a job as a stripper. She only took the car in order to drive to Indianapolis for the job interview. If that wasn't strange enough, her reaction during the interrogation was even more puzzling. Shelton allegedly told police she shouldn't be arrested because she returned the vehicle later. One bewildered officer had this to say: "She acted like this whole thing was a joke and did not understand the arrest since she did not have the vehicle any longer. In other words, she simply borrowed the car to get to a job interview. She figured since she brought it back, it wasn't a crime anymore." That's because Shelton reportedly said she abandoned the car at the Muncie Mall, which is located behind the dealership it was taken from. But as the dealership stated, the vehicle was actually discovered some 20 miles away. How it wound up in another city is not clear, but Shelton admitted that she left the keys in the car as well. As you can see, nothing she says seems to make any sense. What we do know is that the 20-year-old was arrested on preliminary charges that included 2 felonies, auto theft and identity deception. She faces up to 2.5 years in prison if convicted. Looks like that stripper career will have to wait for a while. Be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. Our weekly videos will feature such topics as stupid crime stories, classic TV, and the real stories behind popular songs from the past and present. There will be even more categories as we continue to grow.